The other number that we have is 890 papers if you're arrested. We're not hoping that it's going to happen, but it's better be prepared. Okay? Gate 10.
He's coming.
Okay.
Where a lot of people know a lot of poverty are having problems paying their rent and feeding their kids. I want to start by a story. About 3 months ago, a man named George that we knew very well was found dead in his apartment. And this is just a short account of his story. After being in a program in St. Thomas, he was released back to Toronto with no follow-up at all. Wound up spending 2 or 3 days on the streets. Somehow he managed to negotiate a room for rent with a landlord on the basis that he had been just accepted on ODSP and he had the letter. The landlord agreed to let him stay there for a couple of months. I mean, a couple of weeks before he got his check. George went to ODSP office, and it was the day that the strike started, and nobody would deal with him. So immediately him and the worker went to the welfare office to explain what was going on, what George had done. He was kicked out physically out of that office because they refused him to give a check.
Shame! Shame! Shame!
A week later, George was found dead in his room by the landlord. Now you have to imagine, had George lived, what he faced sitting in that room alone. He was waiting for the landlord to knock on that door, waiting for that paycheck, which he couldn't produce. And he had promised the landlord he could give it to him. He knew that that knock might be the police. And he knew that the other is the sheriff. And the only other option he had, because there is no housing in the city, was back on the streets. So George is dead now. For the last 3 months, OCAP...
A moment's silence.
There's more. For the last... Someone wants a moment of silence. Let's spend 30 seconds here for George. I have more names. For the last 3 months, OCAP and its allies have been working in Parkdale and poor communities like Dundas and Sherburne to mobilize around these attacks against poor people that have been going on for years. And we go, and we've been in drop-ins, we've been in rooming houses, we've been in hostels, we've been on the streets, we've been in the parks. And we told them we're going to come tonight and we're going to open up a building so we have a house, we have housing tonight. We chose this time because we know that the world is watching. We know that there are hundreds of thousands of youth who are here today in Toronto, who come from poor communities, who struggle in poverty. And we want to talk to them to find out how they fight back. And we want to show them how we fight back. And we want to show them that we're building a movement and a resistance here. And we will not accept to suffer in silence. We know that in Quebec City right now, there's a squat that was opened several months ago. We know that in Montreal, a year ago, there was a squat that was opened, and they're going to celebrate that 2 days from now. We know that in Vancouver, there's a resistance. We know that in Ottawa, there's a squat. We know that in Guelph, Kingston, Sudbury, Hamilton, all these places, we know that there are movements right now where people are fighting back.
Hey folks, there's a number of QP locals participating in squat actions this weekend. TAs, teaching assistants, graduate assistants, contract faculty, secondary school teachers, social service workers, a number of locals across Toronto. And there'll be a great series of events happening on Sunday, including music and poetry, gaming. QP 3903 and all the other QP locals that I mentioned are participating in the squat this weekend. Not because it's the right thing to do, which it is, and not because there was a recent resolution that was passed at the Ontario Division Convention this spring in support of OCAP, in support of the Ontario Common Front. And like I said, not because it's the right thing to do, but because the fight for affordable housing, the fight for housing in general, is part of struggles for increased minimum wage, part of struggles for increases to welfare payments, rent controls, to stop deportations, to defend picket lines, to abolish racist immigration laws. All these struggles are linked. All these struggles are linked and are all part of the same struggle. That's why QP locals are participating this weekend. The same forces of capitalist globalization that are advancing the agendas of multinational businesses through the privatization of services, deregulation of labor and environmental laws, increases in the inequality within and between countries, are the same forces which have made legislative changes to allow easy evictions, which have abolished rent controls, which have cut welfare so that 1 million people have to make a choice between whether they want to eat or pay their rent, which have frozen minimum wages, which have sold off existing public housing. These are the same forces which force 2,000 people to be evicted each month, which force 2 to 4 people in a situation where they actually die, where 2 to 4 people die a week in Toronto alone. This situation forces 63,000 people onto waiting lists for adequate housing. There was a banner that was hung outside a squat recently in Quebec City, and it said, "The logic of profit is encouraging slums." And I think that really aptly describes the situation. We have an economic system in place if there's money in building condos instead of affordable housing, you can be damn sure the homeless will stay on the streets. You can be damn sure that laws will be put into place to arrest them, and you can be bloody well sure that thugs who pass for police will be armed to serve and protect the wealthy.
Yeah, right.
The inequality and fear and poverty that has created this situation must be fought at every level by all of us, here and now, not in some afterlife. So I believe that the labor movement needs to fight back, continue the fight back, step up the fight back. We need to facilitate structures within our unions which democratize our unions, because make no mistake, many of our unions are not that democratic yet, that facilitate the ongoing and active participation by all members at all times. We cannot afford to be passive in the face of capitalist globalization and its agenda. We must revitalize the militancy and the spirit of solidarity that we've seen and that we've been a part of, that we've experienced. We have to broaden our networks of resistance and utilize our power of social mobilization to its fullest. We have to break through the inertia.
Starting at noon until the...
Hey everybody, I'm Dan Sawyer from Anti-Capitalist Community Action in Ottawa, which is one of the groups that was sort of the, one of the coordinating groups, one of the organizing groups for the 7-Year Squat in Ottawa. For those of you that don't know, the 7-Year Squat was an amazingly successful project for the 7 days that it lasted. It happened during the Take the Capital campaign a couple weeks ago in Ottawa. We took over a building in downtown Ottawa and we held it for 7 days. We had amazing support from like the full spectrum of resistance in Ottawa, from mainstream anti-poverty groups to union activists to anti-capitalists to punks to homeless people to people living in poverty. They all came together for this project. And it came together so well and was so successful because people in Ottawa are currently living through the worst housing crisis in Canada right now per capita. 15,000 families are waiting up to 7 years, or sorry, 15,000 families are waiting a minimum of 7 years for social housing in Ottawa. That's 15,000 families, not 15,000 individuals. There's another 25,000 families that each year start the application process to get into social housing and realize that the waiting list is so long and back out. That's 25,000 families each year applying and backing out of that process because the wait is a minimum of 7 years. So people in Ottawa are tired of waiting. We're tired of waiting for social workers and MPs and MPPs and bureaucrats to do their job and help people out. We're tired of waiting, so we took over a building. We took over a building because there's a housing crisis. And the links that were built out of that, we only lasted 7 days, and I hope the one today lasts a lot longer. I hope that, yeah. It was this. Oh. Hey.
Somebody has. I thought what was going on. I didn't realize it
Okay, but yeah. So the 7-Year Squat. I mean, we should, you know, in hindsight, we should have known 7th day it was likely we were going to get shut down. You know, but anyway. So yeah, we built these amazing links. We built these amazing links between groups that are still going strong. And across Canada right now, across this part of the Northeast, there's a huge movement to confront capitalism and imperialism at the local level and really make our resistance to these global systems of death and oppression as local as possible, confronting them in really meaningful ways. Confronting them in ways that help people and affect people in their daily lives and make things better for us, at the street level in our daily lives. And that's what projects like this are about. So from Anti-Capitalist Community Action and the other groups that were involved in the 7-Year Squat, we say solidarity, kick some ass. I hope it goes really well. We're here with you.
Check.
McAlley.
Thank you. Hi, our next speaker is Sean Brandt from OCAP and Parkdale Mohawk Nation.
are standing on Mississauga land. We're standing on Mohawk land. Let's pay homage to those people. But I can tell you one thing about this place, is that it has more significance than being ancestral lands of one nation or another. In this place a year ago, a brother of mine, in fact a brother of ours, used to make this park his home. And Gaetan talked about people that have lived and died in the streets, but this one fella sort of struck my heart. And when I walked to the OCAP office, he'd be laying here in the park, and people knew him, and he had a little dog. But how he ended up in the streets was he worked his whole life. He worked his whole life, and his wife got sick with cancer, and he moved from his reserve up north, and he came to Toronto, and he spent his savings, and he sold his house, and he gave her the care, and he stood by her until she died. And when she died, he had nothing. And he lived in this park because that's where we put people who have nothing. And a year ago, he died.
Free public health care, always.
Yeah, right.
It's not enough to talk about homelessness as some numbers or statistics. Homelessness is about people, and it's putting a face on people. It's about understanding how people got to the situation that they're at, and how a society can let people go when they're no longer valued to die in the streets. Homelessness isn't a cause, and it's not about buying a toque every year. Homelessness is not a cause. Homelessness is a consequence, and it's a punishment. It's a punishment for people who become unemployed, for workers who get hurt on the job, who don't qualify for workers' comp. It's about a brother in Hamilton who didn't qualify for EI and hung himself before he was forced onto the streets. We have to acknowledge very basically what homelessness is, and how all of us can be subject to that punishment. When Gaetan talked about the people that we remember, it has to be clear, on the other hand, for someone like Lassman, Fantino, Eves, Chrétien, while we remember those people who die in the street, we will not forget which governments brought those policies that caused those people to die in the streets of this and every other city in this country. Living on a reserve, born, raised, and living on a reserve, I used to think that the greatest indignity that people could face was a mother having to cut her child down from a tree who hung herself, or a mother who hung herself because she couldn't feed her babies, or an agency like Canada Feed the Children putting out a call because our kids are starving to death in northern reserves. I used to think that the greatest indignity was having police, 60 OPP and 180 MNR circulating pictures of our dead women on the internet with racial jokes. I used to think that the indignity of picking up our women or adding another 9 names to the 53 in Vancouver. Our women, our children. But when you see that indignity and you compare it with the last breath that someone takes as they're laying on a street knowing that they're going to die, and you think about that sadness and that loneliness, that's what we don't forget. When the Pope was coming to Toronto, Mel Lassman said, "Jesus, we got to clean up this street. We got to get these people off the street. We don't want to subject the Pope to the burden of having to see people laying in the street." This is something that has to be embraced by people. OCAP, taking a building. It's not a symbolic action. Maybe in the presence of the Pope we can seek some comfort, and maybe these cops here won't bash our heads in tonight. But we don't want his pity, and he can't build our houses. It was described when he got off the plane that the Pope was a frail body led by a powerful soul. And maybe perhaps when these people here that we're surrounded by, moving people off of park benches, moving them off the streets, moving them along all the time, you can look at homeless people and you can say that their frail, dead bodies are just being led around by their will to live another day and to hope that things might get better. People, it's not about grieving. It's not about sadness or pity. This is about taking actions, responsible actions collectively that will afford us an opportunity to open up a shelter, to provide that shelter to people who need it, to provide that space, to provide that comfort, that companionship, that understanding for 5 days or for 50 days or for 50 years. In the shadow of the Pope, it may be the opportunity that we have. If that's taking advantage of his visit as a First Nations person, I can tell you, he owes it to us. Now we're ready to move out. We're going to go down this street in solidarity. We're going to go with pride.
Stand up, my man! We're leading the march.
of people are evicted every fucking month. People who are survivors of the psychiatric system. People who are living of the UN for refugee camps. So hundreds of thousands of people have come here to... People concerned about the livability of this city come together in protest to create housing because the politicians won't. We want you folks to be here and to understand that this building is going to be held, that we are not going to give this building up, that the cost will have to charge.
This is our little documentary.
I'm trying to find a bathroom. I'm always going.
These shoppers. Hello.
I think I'll have to ask one of the cashiers.
Okay.
At the back? At the very back? Can we go through the folding doors there? Okay, thanks. Get the guys.
That's a nice
Do you want to go?
No. So we have Sue buying bananas.
Trying to find some ripe ones because they're all green.
Bit tomatoes and cucumbers. And tomatoes and cucumbers. Check out the pattern. There's tomatoes and cucumbers and tomatoes and cucumbers. Wow. A holiday because
Malcolm's taking a holiday? Out actually. I don't know what it is, but
I cannot tell the people at home because I don't know. That's right, sorry, it's so confusing.
What is that just a satellite on top?
I guess so.
It's, well, they're going to broadcast live from the Pope Squad.
Live from the Pope Squad.
Hello, focus!
Are they going to put a floodlight on us then? Is that what's going on?
Oh, that would be
it's going to be like,
fantastic. At least we'll be able to see back.
The only cure is the so his rules are like, she has to be blind or deaf, so she doesn't do this. And then he goes, okay, and I goes, okay, anything else? He goes, yes, very sexy, and all this stuff. And I totally forget the first time.
Bring them board games.
Are you guys finding there's enough gloves and stuff?
I'm sure we could do more.
Do you squat? Get a flashlight and look on that floor.
But it's just like, I don't know how to use that.
Anything metal, don't fill out the box and just drop it. Scrap. We're going to give it to scrap collector. Don't chuck it out. We're going to give out everything metal to scrap.
What? Where do you throw that?
We're only getting the superficial.
Actually, if you just put it down, it will just crawl in by itself.
Bow on the instrument. Give it up for Bo. Yeah. Just sit in for the day.
David the other day.
Good talk, yeah. So what are you gonna do?
Say what?
You're gonna do some tape?
Turn it down a bit? Yeah, no problem.
Okay.
Try and bring a camera down here or something.
Yeah, that'd be amazing.
One of the Davids was 3 cameras.
Oh, Rubinoff, yeah. This is one of his.
Oh yeah. Yeah, he was offering to give me his on Thursday. Anyway, I just want to say my name's Holly. Can I introduce myself?
Yeah. Cool. Well, I'm glad you're up for it.
Be working with you guys.
Right on.
All right, here we go. We're back up to normal volume.
Is there a neighbor friend?
With our champ. Are you gonna kill her?
So did you sleep here last night?
Yep.
Was it nice and comfy?
Yep.
Cool.
Better than the park.
Yeah.
Lives are happening before your eyes. When Orion lies solitary, keeping cool, silence company. We are gathered here tonight to walk with bright shadows, swirling the past in deep breaths, tailing the future, slowly speaking to the present. Inventing the syntax, repenting the sins past, doing laughs in this cast of characters, carrying songs, bearing our nights to winter, warming bodies with rhythms. Victims of circadian imitations, limitations, spaces and times fracturing moments that last longer than capturing our pictures. Pictures on the man's again. She is not here to take away the tears, wipe away the fears, wipe away the tears, take away the tears. Our lives are happening before your eyes. On the Orion lies solitary, keeping cold, silence, company. We are gathered here tonight to walk in bright shadows on the path, keeping breath, exhaling the future, slowly speaking to the present, inventing the syntax, repenting the sins past, moving last. This cast of characters carrying on, carrying all night to winter, holding bodies to rhythm, victims of speaking limitations, space and time fracturing moments that last longer, capturing our pictures. Our pictures on the mantle, because it's not here. Take away the fears, wipe away the tears. Little boy blue, love TV chips and Monty Miller, play cowboys and Indians, always wanted to be the cowboy. Toy guns in abundance, love cops and robbers. Guess who he was? Normal child in the city. Mom didn't like him playing with the colored kids, didn't like the music, choosing to move to a better part of town. Growing up in a middle class existence, average grades and normal days, playground fights and detentions, competitive, love, athletics, aggressive, part-time bully, soon refined, realized his calling, applying himself to the class, never best nor the worst, always in between. Teenager, absorbing, never questioning information, the best intentions, graduating with a C+, good enough for mother, answered his call to the hallowed halls, protected by copper shields, unafraid, unaware of crimes he'd soon commit. Little boy blue, trying to make your mom proud. Little boy blue, unafraid, unaware of the world around. Little boy blue, trying to make your mom proud. Little boy blue, unafraid, unaware.
Okay, so you came here at noon to talk to Mel about the squat and what happened.
Basically what happened is our delegation went to the mayor's office, the doors were locked. There was a kind of a low-level flunky from the mayor's office that was sent down specifically to rebuff us and tell us that the city was not going to engage in any sort of good faith dialogue with us. Repeated over and over that this building at 1510 King Street West has been seized by the province in 1994, and the city just doesn't want anything to do with this building right now, and they don't want to engage in any sort of dialogue with the constituents of Toronto. And that's kind of where we're at right now. We just got a runaround from a kind of a low-level flunky from the mayor's office. After that, Jack Layden, city councillor, came in to kind of the hallway and agreed to meet with us and try to get like some city staff together that we can start engaging in some dialogue. But we've been totally rebuffed by the mayor's office in any official capacity whatsoever. They don't even want to sit down and like introduce ourselves to them.
Right, right. So what's the next step? What happens if Jack doesn't come through?
Well, the next step is definitely to go back to the squatters at King Street West because we are just a delegation. All the decision-making power lies with squatters and with OCAP and like the different working relations that we have as a whole. Report back on our experiences here today with the mayor's office and with Mr. Layden, and decide where to go from there.
Okay.
I think Phil's a good guy on the public council. So as long as they're providing information, kind of like. Yes. That's fine.
Because it gets too. It's gonna get a little too crazy, like.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Good luck, guys. Good luck.
He was under the, I think, mistaken impression of the process of paper out there. Technically, he's right. They don't pay property tax on property. They're not supposed to pay with what in lieu of tax. It's a payment equivalent to what the taxes would have been. And the question is whether they've done that.
And if they had done that, it would discharge the land registry office. So all these liens, all these orders for payments, you've got 5,000 here, 4,000 here, they would say discharged payment by province of. It's possible the city's paying the province for work orders in the province. It's possible.
Who knows? I'm trying to find a phone that can call somebody who got this open. I spoke a while ago. Let me just go phone around and back. Sorry, it's just a good choice. Oh, thanks. No, but not.
Oh, no.
Well, actually, sorry, he was the financial, legal or financial.
Yeah, they're coming.
I'm going to call you and tell you that because I've been on World Youth Day all last week, so this week I was going
We're actually having a bunch of
yeah, I know, the 80th Tony. It's a problem.
Because it's
in the water, right? It's a problem. It's in the building is not a safe building, so they shouldn't be in that building. The issue, there's no question that we should have more shelters and facilities in the city of Toronto, but I can't condone something that could kill somebody. If somebody's in that building that falls and is injured or killed, then the onus is on basically the city to take some kind of, that they're at fault if they don't take some kind of action.
But the problem is you've got 2 people dying every week on the streets because of homelessness.
Well, does your organization or any other organization encourage more people to die?
But have you been there? Have you visited this?
No, I'm just saying putting yourself in a situation that you could die. if you're turning around and saying to the city that we have a concern about people on the street, you're doing exactly the same thing.
But here's the thing:
you're encouraging people to die
have
in
a
that
tour
building.
because there's been a lot
I've
of
seen that building.
But
I've been in that building when it was closed.
Okay, but there's been a lot of work that's been done. They put banisters in. They've been renovating. No, seriously.
The work that has to be done is structural work that has to be done in that building. That building's in bad shape, and that's one of the reasons why it was closed down by the city, because of the condition of the building. And the city's in the process basically of putting it up for sale, that kind of thing.
The city owns it, doesn't it?
We're not sure about that. We're still trying to find the owner of the building at the present time, and until we find the owner of the building, until we know the status of the facility, then we'll know what direction we're going in.
Now, I know that there's a delegation tried to meet with the mayor. We wouldn't meet with them. Would you meet with the folks to talk about what the concerns
I don't
are?
mind talking to people, but at the same time, if they vacate the building, and I'm willing to sit down with them and discuss it, because I do not want to be put in a situation where somebody gets hurt in that building. That's my major concern right now, and you know, I can't see anybody putting themselves in that situation where they could get hurt, because the building is in bad shape.
They're actually saying that the biggest risk of getting hurt is if the police move in. Would you support the police evicting them?
If we haven't made that determination yet, and we're discussing those issues right now. The bottom line for us is that how long do we take before some kind of action is taken in consideration that the building is a very dangerous one, and could put people inside the building into a situation where they could be hurt or killed.
There's a fellow there, Sam, who actually moved to the building from Seton House, and he says it's way safer at the Squat than at Seton House because he doesn't have he's not worried about tuberculosis, he's not worried about people right next to him who are sick. I mean, he's got a room now. He's really happy to be There. I mean, how do you respond?
There are a lot of other buildings in the city of Toronto. That's not the only building, Seton House, that he could go to, and there are other facilities in Toronto. But do we need to take care of people? There's no question about it that we should be doing the best job we can, taking in consideration this city does better than most cities in North America. But bottom line is that if there is some concern out there on the street, it should be dealt with. But this is not the way to deal with it, to put people at risk in the building.
So you would meet with them to talk about it?
I have no problem talking to them. I have no problem to talk to them at all. If they're being reasonable on the direction that we could be taking in the future in regards to making more affordable housing possible in the city of Toronto, I don't have a problem with talking about that. But this is not the answer, taking over a building that is of concern, of safety concern.
Would you go look at the building just to see
I've been in
the
the
work?
building.
No, but to see the work that they've done in the last.
I will. If an inspector would like to go to the building and to view the building, I would go with that inspector. I have no problem with that. But the work that they've done on the building will never be up to the structural. The building's got some structural problems to it, and there's major work that has to take place. Not putting up filling up a hole or a piece of drywall hole or doing this or doing that. There's more work than that has to go to the
Apparently, they have the unions who are supporting them, the CAW, QP, who may be prepared actually to do a lot of that
So
work.
those construction guys have come in and fixed the building?
Not yet, but there's been work done
You
already.
tell me why they haven't.
Yeah.
And I can tell you why. Because they don't want to do it. They don't want to get involved in that.
The neighbors seem to really appreciate the folks there.
The neighbors have spoken to me too. They want to, they understand the situation of homelessness and the concerns in the city of Toronto, but they also understand that the conditions that are there at the present time right now cannot continue to go on. And they've said that to me.
Do you have any other questions?
Go ahead. Do you have any?
Because I know the delegation is actually right here. They've been trying to meet with the mayor, so maybe they could sit down with you.
I don't have a problem talking to them.
Okay.
Maybe we should knock on the door now and see if they're willing to.
Yeah. Why don't you do that? See if they want to meet with Chris, because the local councillor is.
I don't have a problem. I'll be back in about 2 minutes because I have to go here, and I'll be right back.
things go at the meetings with Jack Layton and Chris Korn-Kaczynski?
Okay, well, first point we have to make on this is that we're still really angry that no one from the mayor's office will have a serious meeting with us. We got someone from the communications office who came in and told us there would be no meeting. Their claim is that the province owns the building, but they can't produce any evidence of this. We had a constructive meeting with Jack Layton. That's fine, that's great, but until someone from the mayor's office is here, it doesn't really amount to very much. We appreciate the fact that Jack's trying to be part of the solution, but we need something serious from the mayor's office. Similarly, the meeting with the local councillor, Chris Korwin-Kaczynski, he tells us he has no problem with the building becoming affordable housing. Good, but we need a political process to make that happen. We need people who claim to have some authority to act on this or some willingness to be part of a negotiation process, to commit themselves to it. And so while his overall commitment is fine, there's no specifics to move us forward, and that's really what we've got to move on next.
What kind of support are you looking for specifically in terms of that negotiation process?
Well, we think the city should go to the province and say, we have an abandoned building, they are in arrears on back taxes, this could become social housing very, very quickly, and if the province owns it, then to demand that they turn it over to the city to convert it to affordable housing. There's no reason why, if the mayor's office was prepared to say those sorts of things, you couldn't begin a process. And that's what we're looking for.
And why do you think they're reluctant to make that kind of statement and are taking such a sort of hands-off, not our problem?
Well, this is not a mayor's office which has had a great commitment to social housing, so that's the first thing. We're quite clear that it's the pressure that we're creating by this campaign which is the key to that. Nevertheless, we think it's possible to force them through political pressure and public outcry to act on it, and that's the pressure we're trying to generate. And I think that's why they've been reluctant to move against the squatters at this point. They do sense that we have a lot of public sympathy around this issue and that there's growing political support in terms of social justice community, labor organizations, and so on. And that's what we have to build that. The key thing for us is going to be building widespread public political support for this. Otherwise, there won't be a solution.
Now, a lot of people at the Squat are worried about the police presence and the chance of a forcible eviction. Scott from the Communications Department mentioned earlier that he had no control, or the city had no control over the police at all, which I found interesting. Chris mentioned to us earlier that he was not going to call the police himself, but that he couldn't guarantee what was going to happen. So what do you feel is the potential for sort of police raid on the Squat at this point?
Yeah, I mean, it looks like buck passing to begin with. It looks like the city wants to say this is a hot potato, it belongs to the province. It's not clear to me that the province wants to claim ownership of this one at this point either. At one level, it's good, of course, that no one at the city level seems inclined right now to ask the police to evict the squatters. That's great. But at the same time, they're not making any long-term guarantees. And what they should do is to say to the province, you appear to be the owners here. We do not want to see an eviction. We want to see a process of negotiation started that will allow this building to be converted to social housing, to respond, in other words, with a dialogue in the interests of homeless people rather than calling the police in. So you could, if you wanted to, the mayor could make a very strong presentation to the province to keep the police out of it and to begin a political dialogue. And so the fact that there's not calling the police in is good, but they need to take the next step. We don't think they're going to take it without a lot of pressure.
How is OCAP going to provide that kind of pressure, and is there an initiative to approach the province independently without the city's report, or regardless of the city's support?
Right. On the last one, that's something people are going to have to think about. Today is the first time that anyone has said to us directly the province owns the building. We're not sure they're right about that. When you ask them for documentation, no one's come up with it so far, and our own land registry checks haven't shown that. They could still be right. There may be paperwork we haven't found, but that's the first time we've heard it. So we've got to sit down now and talk about, okay, do we then make an overture to the government, provincial government, to begin discussion of this? But that's something we haven't gone to yet, so we're going to have to talk about that. But it raises a lot of other interesting questions, because if the province owns it, how long have they owned it? Who were tenants paying rent to up until late in the year 2000, for instance? Why is a major financial institution listed as the trustee of this building in the public records, and so on. So there's a lot of murky stuff that we still need to work through, and it may involve at some point going and meeting with the province, but there's a lot of digging that needs to be done before I think we're really clear on who all is part of this equation.
What is the major financial
Well,
institution?
there are public records which suggest that the trustees of this building are Ernst & Young, and they are a major financial institution in the city. They look like they're involved in some way, but again, that's not what we're being told by the city.
Doesn't Ernst & Young have a lot of connections to people that are in the provincial government
Sure
in this
they do.
province right now?
Sure they do. They're a very, very well-connected financial agency, yeah. And so again, who's dealing with whom on this? What kind of discussions are happening behind the scenes? We don't know. And it's easy for the city to say it belongs to the province, but so far journalists who've talked to the province have not heard that from the province. And so we need some confirmation that they actually are claiming ownership of this building. We're in a gray area as a result. For the moment, we'll keep digging and we'll keep pushing, and we'll try to see where all that leads, but it's anybody's guess at this point.
Time for you to go out to the places you love.